pity or Misha would be that Sheila has made this good prototype with this cool things moving from the left to the right. I think it would be. Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay. But maybe it will be about things that also see what we're doing.
Yeah.
And maybe like this.
Yeah.
Since the market is great,
So.
Yeah, the mouth I'm talking about. Here's the mouth.
I'm presenting from over there, from behind the screen.
No, it's not. Yeah, yeah, because everything here is built on Zoom. Test 1, 2, 3, test.
So yeah, this is very
I just need to make sure the spare one.
One battery is that how long that will
Is there maybe the one where it's like, I want to show you everything should to me or just guess?
Okay.
It has the one that
show them. Show them. From you mean this one?
Yeah, but it's the harmless characters.
Show them from the system shop. Tuki-Tori. Tuki-Tori too.
I can't think of
Axiom Bird. Yeah.
Hello, welcome. Switch, mindset switch. Now it's Ludorum for Ludorum. And we'll continue our path to platformer this week. And now we're diving into more explorative part, which is Metroidvania games. This kind of game is much more about exploration and using your exploration as to find more tools to help to explore more. So this week I'm not going to present any classic game because I'm going to introduce Balduin to talk about what he thinks about Metroidvanias. All right, let's clap for him.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, and I'm very happy to be here. I've prepared this small presentation. I heard some talk already about my beautiful cover image with a lot of characters from famous Metroidvania games. I think a lot of you are familiar with at least one of the characters that you see there. And I hope during the talk I will be able to present the genre. I don't know, I think a lot of you also played games from this genre. Some are more hidden, while others are more like straightforward, saying that they are Metroidvanias. And yeah, without further ado, let's go. First a bit on myself. I made a beautiful picture with like who can guess the game in the background. That's Super Metroid. And yeah, I'm a Bachelor 7 designer. I play a lot of games and also play a lot. My favorite game is Outer Wilds. My favorite genre is not Metroidvania, it's immersive sim, so that's why I put System Shock in there as well. My favorite food is spinach lasagna. My favorite car is the Toyota Supra Mark III Turbo Targa, just in case. And yeah, favorite city, of course. And favorite day is Friday, Saturday.
Favorite part of the day?
Ehrenfeld. Yeah. I'm from Ehrenfeld, so yeah.
Favorite secret dinner?
Sorry, favorite?
Favorite secret?
Oh, that's hard. I would go with fictional characters also allowed.
If you don't know real.
I don't know real serial killers. I would say Corvo from Dishonored, but real ones, maybe Jack the Ripper, but that's like the one that I know. I have a favorite number 15, okay. But that's my birthday. And it's a beautiful round number. Okay, so yeah, this is what we know about, or it's the genre, where did it come from and why is it called Metroidvania? Then we have what makes it Metroidvania, basically features and must-haves. Then I'll walk you through Super Metroid as a classic example of a game from the genre, or Super Metroid defined the genre. Then I give you some nice features that you can use in your next game that are Metroidvania design. And then the last part is basically talking about into the future. So what happened after Metroid and Castlevania and what do we have today? And yeah, with this, we start with the genre. So who remembers good old 1986? So it's like 9 years before I was born, and we see what game is 1986? Super Mario, the first Mario game. And also Metroid and Castlevania, but funnily the genre is not called Metroidvania because of these two. They are the first in the series. Metroid basically already had the genre tropes that we know today. Castlevania is way off. Castlevania was very different back then. And it took, I think, what is it, 8 years for 1994 Super Metroid, like one of the coolest covers ever, I guess, of a video game. And a lot of you might know like the characters from the Smash Brothers series, actually. That's where I got introduced to Samus and Relay first. But yeah. And in '97, very good game for video, very good year for video games. We see then Castlevania for the PlayStation 1. And this is I think I also wrote it later, it's like the 13th installment of Castlevania. And that is the first that is adapting the Metroid style of design. Yeah, quickly about the game. So Super Metroid is actually Metroid 3. And we see big improvements compared to the first two Metroids. It now has a map, which is very important that we select. And Castlevania is the 13th, roughly, depends on how you count game in the series. And back in the day, like all games had like the Game Boy release as well, and then like some pinball game as well, and whatever. And so, yeah, and Castlevania for this matter is then the first to adopt the Metroid design. And Castlevania, that's the big difference between the two, has light RPG mechanics, where Super Metroid is basically an action platformer without RPG mechanics. And yeah, what makes the game? The slide is really cool because that's Axiom Verge, and it's just like a little mood board. So this is the feeling of Metroidvania, in my opinion. You have a lot of items, you have dark, moody atmosphere, you have maps, which are very cool. You make mental notes or actually have a post-it where you write down notes. You have hard boss fights. And
what about the very first Prince of Persia?
That's very linear. I guess the question will answer later. Prince of Persia, like Mario, is like a kind of linear game where you progress from level to level and don't really backtrack. But yeah, we can discuss it later maybe. Yeah, let's go with what makes the genre. I'm just opening that up here, and these are basically things that I wanted to see with the mood board build. So we obviously have platforming. A lot of these games, especially back in the day, are 2D. Then the big thing, we have non-linear games. That was in 1986 the special thing about Metroid in comparison to Mario. For example, where you have Mario, a lot of levels that you play back to back. Metroid featured one giant open world, kind of. That's why it's in quotation marks. that you gradually unlock by getting new items that open doors. And that's the locks and keys, very, very important feature of Metroidvanias. Mystery is the exploration, which was also, I guess back in the day we had like Ultima Underworld, for example, or like The Legend of Zelda, which really focused on this exploration mystery aspect of the games, where Metroid and later Super Metroid really try to make that the core part of their game. And yeah, with that, I think it's time to get to Super Metroid. And see the little Metroid up there in the corner? That's like the prologue I left out of the presentation. But so in Metroid 1, you're playing Samus, and she's a bounty hunter. And in Samus 1, you fight space pirates on the planet of Zebes and defeat Mother Brain at the end, and all is good. In Metroid 2 for the Game Boy, you go to the homeworld of the Metroids and kill them all. And except in the end, one larva, this little thing in the corner, survives and follows you like a confused child. And Metroid 3 or Super Metroid starts with Samus bringing the larva to the Galactic Research Station and for the good of humanity. And that all works out. She leaves the research station and gets a distress call from the research station. It is getting attacked by Ridley, the dragon monster thing. And you have to go back and Ridley steals the Metroid larva. And with that, back to Zebes, back to Metroid 1.
Does it make the Metroid larva a damsel in distress? Do you get it back?
It's kind of your incentive, or like Samus' incentive to go back to the place where Metroid 1 happened. Yeah, you don't get it back. It's very cute, especially in Metroid 2. That's why Metroid 2 is like in the community. They had a big fan-made remake of the game, which was taken down by Nintendo, and Nintendo made a very bad version of that by themselves. But Metroid 2 is like considered as the important lore Metroid if you really want to get into that. But yeah, Metroid. I think short introduction. We never checked the sound. Oh, but that's okay. Just to the sound design. In the gameplay. And the end. I think people that have played Hollow Knight, for example, recognize this kind of like melancholic atmosphere. And and this is finally the end session of Metroid 1 where we were running through. Play out a bit, The person is also playing very fast, so we could play slower and look a bit around, see a bunch of stuff in the environment. I will focus on that later a bit. That's the start of Metroid 1, by the way. And now we get the morph board.
Can you think of anime franchises? Anime and game franchises that also make use of this kind of a morph ball kind of mechanic?
Pokemon?
Exactly. And then another anime series where Pokemon was actually inspired by to make this kind of ball mechanic. Dragon Ball, do you remember that Pokemon is the owner of the Capsule Corporation?
Mm-hmm.
And this is, of course, inspired by the gacha capsules that
true.
So you can see actually how impactful gacha, independent of Genshin Impact, it has actually been on a lot of different game genres.
Okay, back to Metroid. So, I hate this, how we get on. Okay, that's an image now. So the first thing, we arrive on Zebes or Zebes, so whatever you want to call it, in your ship, and we saw immediately the person runs left. That's why I also said, they played really fast. They obviously knew what they were doing. thing from last week, like platformers, you're typically running to the right. And that was a big thing about Metroid games as well, that you, like, if you would run to the right on the start screen on Metroid, you would hit a door that you can't open, so you have to go to the left, which is the first thing where the game is telling you, maybe explore, maybe, yeah, you have to roam around. And then, yeah, the next part, the drop that we saw as well. There's actually 3 things that if you know, you know. The purple pink door, the tiny squeeze space, and then to the left, the bricks in the wall. These are locked doors that like look like you can go there. I mean, the door with the squeeze space definitely shows you, yeah, there is the door. You already, like, you know, you can open blue doors, but you can't fit through there. Spoiler, with the morph ball, you can. And that's a theme that we will see a lot in the game. So by exploration, you pass a lot of locked doors that you will be able to open later. Yeah, we saw this. You run through Old Brinstar, the ending of Metroid 1, and you unlock the morph ball, and you also unlock the rockets. And with the rockets, you are able to open the pink doors. And
did they recreate the original level in that part when you say that you
yeah,
is it exactly mapped or
it's one-to-one. You can overlay it actually. And what they did, which is it? This one to go back?
No,
The laptop. What you can see here, this is like you run through as this atmospheric moody thing, and then you unlock the missiles and so on. You have to backtrack at this point, and then this place is filled, like it changed. It's filled with like space pirates that you have to fight through again, and eventually get back up and explore the upper area, which was this. And yeah, the question.
Also, I'm not wrong. Isn't the room where Metroid 1 ended and you pass through, isn't it also like really similar or the exact same room that this Metroid ends in?
Yeah, technically, not quite.
Different location, but it looks really
It's kind of in the area, and you fight like basically Metroid 3's ending is like the better version of Metroid 1. So you also fight Mother Brain, you also have that, but I don't think it's a different area, but it's close by actually, and you can unlock it at the end of the game. But so yeah, you will explore. You might find this room here, which is exactly the entrance to the final area, and that's again another Metroid thing. It's a memorable room. You find this golden statue. You know the dragon. You have it on the cover of your game. You saw it in the prologue. But you don't know what the other, or how many actually there are. And you don't know what it does. And you can't do anything about it, so you have to explore on. And then, yeah, you recognize Ripley. This is the map. And this is the map that we are currently able to explore. So we started over here, that's the ship. And that's the big drop here. You see like the purple door and so on. And you went down all the way over here, and here you got the morph ball. That's what we saw in the video. Don't know if you can see it all. And there you get the rockets. And yeah, that's basically what you can explore here. And you have to go back up and explore the stuff and find the room with the golden statue. And yeah, from there, you only have one way to go. With your new unlocks, you are able to make your way down to Brinstar, which, if we look at the big map, is basically the green area here. So you had this tiny part of the green area. Now it unlocks further. Basically from here, you come down with the elevator over here, and we'll be able to explore.
Wait, so this game is 4 times as big?
No, Metroid 1 also had a lot of the areas, but it's bigger than Metroid 1. But in total, like, if you know what you're doing, it's like 4 hours of playtime, I would say, yeah. So yeah, so you go down to Brinstar and you explore, and Brinstar, again, we are still in a very guided, like, you explore, but there's basically one critical pass. You will have your first mini boss here, and again another unlock, and these are the super missiles that will be able to open green doors. And now you can go back and open green doors, and this will lead you to this room, which is very important. I think I can show you on the map later. But basically, if you shoot this blue button, the door opens, you can go through and it closes behind you and you can't reopen it. So what the game just did is basically making you progress and then closing the door behind you so you can't go back. And that's a thing that Metroidvania is doing a lot, because you have to explore. If you get stuck, people tend to go back because like maybe I missed something. If this happens, the game knows like you can't, you have everything you need to progress. We lock you into the smaller area to make you play and explore this area instead of the full game. That's basically a convenience that Metroidvanias do. And yeah, this is here. Basically, this room here is the one with the one-way door. And now you're locked into this area here and can only go down to Norfair. And yeah.
The question, it's directly closing, so you don't
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you walk through, it closes behind you, and you see that a lot of players are turning around and trying to shoot the button again, but it doesn't work. Spoiler, you unlock a ray later that is able to unlock these doors, but way later in the game. So you will be able to come back, and that is a memorable moment. You unlock this ray, you get this mini tutorial in the unlock room itself that you open this door, and then you're like, wait a second, 2 hours ago there was this one door that locked me out. Now I can go back all the way to unlock it again, and yeah.
What was your player experience when this happened to you the first time?
It's like I've played Metroid very early. I was very young. I think back then I wasn't thinking about it. It was more like a natural, it felt natural flow, and you kind of had to deal with.
So it wasn't frustration or something like
No, it was more like a, yeah, it's like pushing you along. Yeah. The world happened and you have to deal with it.
Yeah, what you just mentioned was super frustrating for me to be able to remember, oh yeah, 2 hours ago there was this one door in this specific place where I could not re-enter or that I could open again. Because I was also really young and I was not allowed to play that long, so these 2 hours were like split up on a week or something for me. So I could never remember where any door was, and I like
that's
the whole area.
That's an interesting thing, because Super Metroid already was way better that we even had a map. A map screen that we can open, which Metroid didn't have, and we will see that in the future. Like look at Hollow Knight or Dead Cells or something like this. You will see the doors on the map, which Super Metroid doesn't do. And so like these little quality of life things, exactly because of situations like you described, were improved over the years. But yeah, keeping back on track. So we are locked in here, and at the elevator, you will find this room that the next picture is. Like here's the elevator, and over here, basically we have this room with this crazy statue. And so far, this is like a really crazy moment because you have never seen such a monster statue or whatever in the game. So again, you remember this, and you are not able to make the jump. Then again, like another locked door, which isn't the door, but it's basically an environmental lock. So you will also remember this. You go down to Norfair, and in Norfair, you explore a bit, very limited, because there are two blocks again. There's a room that is basically too hard to handle. You will die, you take a lot of damage because it's like a superheated lava room. And the other one is a room where you are basically just too slow. And yeah, the too hard to handle room and the too slow room. So there's not much you can do here.
How do they do it? They let you die more or less? Do you only learn that?
You could die, or you see like your health rapidly digressing, but basically you die. The checkpoints, I haven't talked about that, but you have save stations basically. And so if you're familiar with Dark Souls, that's basically where Dark Souls mechanic comes from this kind of, you have the stations where you respawn when you die.
Which likely are placed close to those rooms where you die quickly.
Kind of, a bit. But I haven't, I must say, I haven't exactly looked at where the save stations in Metroid, Super Metroid are. But yeah, so you explore Norfair, you have the 2 rooms that you can't progress. You will, however, find the high jump boots, and this is then giving you like high jump boots. They're even called this. So where can I use it? Of course, you use it to get out of the room where you unlock them. You can't make the jump here. With the boots, you can. And then the first thing you do is go back to the crazy statue, of course, because now you can jump that high. And what happens after the statue is you fight the first boss. And with that, you unlock the very iconic orange Varia suit of Samus. And if you have played the earlier games or know some Samus lore, you know that's the heat resistant suit. So now you know you can go back to the superheated room and you will unlock the speed boost. And with the speed boost, you go back to the room where you were too slow, and now you can make it. And I've taken this wonderful graphic here from Game Maker's Toolkit, basically showing you we start from up there, unlock the purple shoe icon, which is the high jump. Then we go back up the elevator. We can jump over the door with the monster, unlock the Variah suit, go back down, go through the superheated room, unlock the speed, go back through the superheated pass, and we will be able to proceed through the speed thing. So here, Metroid is giving you like a lot of unlocks very close to each other in super close proximity. So the game teaches you like this kind of zigzagging, backtracking through a very closed, small area, which is, again, will become more important later. And yeah, basically now you unlock the Ice Beam and Power Bomb with your newfound strengths that you unlock down in Norfair. And that will make you, enables you to make your way back up to the room that was basically this locking you in one-way closed door room. And yeah, you will unlock more and more stuff, and the power bomb is basically the end. And with that, eventually you arrive at this elevator here, go back up and come through these doors and arrive back at your ship. And this moment is really cool if that happens to you in the game naturally, because you're like, you made a full circle and you didn't realize. And yeah, you get into the ship, the music and atmosphere changes, it gets more triumphant, and that's basically really a halfway point through the game. You're now kitted out, you have a lot of upgrades already and basically all the tools. And since you are back at the start, now you go and make another exploration round, because there's no clear path before you. Like there is, you explored and that led you up. Like the path forward led you back to the ship, and now you're, yeah, you don't have a goal and you kind of need to explore, and you will find a lot of doors and situations that you now are able to unlock. For example, we saw in the beginning the purple door up here, there, like in the start, and there's this bomb space, like my first 2 slides of the presentation there. Yeah, chill.
Are there like optional collectibles?
Yeah, a lot.
So like when first doors with the blue lock, you could actually miss collectibles.
Yeah,
but
you have a
chance now.
Yeah, there are a lot of like gameplay changing things, so other weapon types or something. These are not important to progress, but like these cool rewarding you for discovering mysteries, which feels really cool in the game. And that also becomes a genre trope of the Metroidvania later. And yeah.
But what you just mentioned, that you find new weapons, could also be a bit confusing for the player, because I remember whenever I found a new weapon, I visited every single
you're like, what is this
for that I like encountered and tried to open it with a new weapon, and was every time disappointed.
That's again like one of the dangers of this design. But I think Super Metroid tries a lot to kind of show you immediately what your new thing does to build the bridge. But yeah, of course this could happen. But yeah, this is the kind of my drawing of your full tour that you did so far. And yeah, with this, you might eventually stumble across this room again and see one of the statues turn gray. And that kind of builds the bridge of, okay, so I need to defeat these monsters to kind of do something with the statue. And there might be 4 actually. And yeah, with this knowledge, you kind of make your way, explore basically this area here. You have like Urbanster, Cratera and Norfair, like the left part of the map at your basically unlocked. And yeah, you will naturally find another boss way down in Norfair and unlock the grappling beam. And as in every game, the grappling beam is an awesome tool, and that opens up the world even more and unlocks new paths for you. And eventually you make your way up at the start of the game to the right. You will find the wrecked ship, and from the wrecked ship you can find the entrance to the fourth or fifth, I guess, final area. The underwater area, I hated it always. And here you see like the game also, like that's how Metroid ramps up the difficulty. Like the passes where it was a purple door in the beginning is now like this room where you come in, and you have like the enemies coming out of the bottom here, and you have this weird thing which I don't know. And technically you can go down here and eventually arrive at this glass tube, which, remember, this glass tube looks like it was blown apart, and so you try to bomb this glass, and yeah, that's actually the way forward. So it kind of gets a bit more, you have to think a bit more, and the game hides its paths a bit weirder and more frustrating. And that's the point where Metroid 1 was super, like Metroid 1 you can't play today, because in Metroid 1 everything is basically a brick wall that you just have to know that you can lay a bomb there and that will open up the path. And that unfortunately happens a bit here as well. It's way better, but still kind of annoying. And yeah, you have the final area, or Meridia, the underwater area, very contained again. So again, like with this one-way doors, you are stuck in this area. You will find the third boss, unlock the space jump, which makes you jump even higher. That's the thing from Super Smash, basically the screw attack, which the Samus jump. And yeah, with the upgrades so far, you will be able to find and unlock Ridley's lair. You have to go like with through the lava here. It has to have the space jump to jump as high and be able to, again, see we have like the cool statue here that you will remember when you first found it. So eventually you go back there, will be able to unlock the final area. That's like a bit of a rush, fight through the Metroids and Mother Brain, which is very similar to Metroid 1 and like looks very similar in this industrial area. A bit more cinematic maybe for a SNES game, but yeah. And have this classic escape sequence of running out with time pressure back to your ship, and that's the final scene, is flying away from the exploding planet. And that's Super Metroid.
First game when her gender was revealed.
That was actually 86, and that was very bad sexist in a way that it depends, like she loses her suit or takes off her helmet, and depending on how fast you beat the game, she takes off more. And like if you're very far, as a reward, she is basically standing there in like a bikini at the end. And Super Metroid is not doing that anymore. But yeah.
But you could have found that gender from the first
Yeah,
game,
that was,
people seem to be still surprised in the late 90s.
But I think that was also with Metroid, the original release, the marketing material, it was clear from the start that Samus is a woman, a bounty hunter, and yeah. But yeah, so again, some nice cool graphs from Game Maker's Toolkit. I really recommend the Boss Keys videos if you want to have a more in-depth look even at the Metroid series, and also Zelda, if you are really interested like in the Zelda dungeon designs. He does a nice thing of, he creates this dependency charts. And we can see this left part is the beginning, the tutorial area. And he draws this line here, basically at the midpoint where you are arriving back at your ship. And you see how in the beginning you have this kind of clear linear thing. There's like only one path that leads you to the next area, and then only one that leads you to the next. And at the midpoint, you see all these lines, like these are, you arrive back at your ship and you have like 10 or more possible paths where you know, like, I unlocked the bomb, now I can try this, now this, blah, blah. And has this 2-act structure, Metroid, where you have this guided path in the beginning, where you learn how the game works, and then the game kind of unleashes you on the world and you have to kind of explore by yourself, which in turn feels really cool. And yeah, so I think that's a very cool halfway point also for the talk. And now I want to kind of talk a bit about what we can learn. So what did we learn from my more or less great walkthrough of Super Metroid, and what can we use in our own games? Like, how can we take the mechanics of Metroid and Castlevania and take in our games? And for this, I composed a list with like a lot more examples from recent games. And so yeah, Hollow Knight, I think like everyone has played, knows Hollow Knight. First of all, the lock and key mechanic. I think we talked a lot about already. You have the door in Hollow Knight, for example, it's this giant bug here, and you will unlock a key for this door. In Hollow Knight, it's the Vengeful Spirit. In Super Metroid is the missiles to open the door. And yeah, that's happening all over the place. And
just quick pause, who of you has never heard the term lock and key for this type of mechanic? Because of course you might not think of a bomb immediately as a key, right? And maybe a wall of stones not immediately as a locked door. But who of you has never before heard this mechanic before? Okay, so everybody else was already more or less familiar with the concept?
I also heard it, but I know principle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool to think about that as like, with Super Metroid, I really like this part that you can't jump high enough, which is, that's so far away from lock or key that you don't even think about it, but the unlocking feels so much better because you don't have to find a physical key and go there and unlock the door. You got better, you got stronger, and that actually unlocks it without you knowing. And yeah.
Yeah, like I've remember discovered from Metroid it's like it's defined by ability gating, so it's not like a lot of visual ones, but like the key is you gaining abilities which you can progress many lots in the environment.
Yeah. I think later we might be able, if we still have time, to see there are games that do that a lot, but there are also modern examples that not do it at all. For example, Blasphemous, which is a Metroidvania but doesn't have this ability-gated world, which I find crazy, because you expect it, and then at the end of the game you realize it wasn't even necessary. Yeah, lock and key, very good. Note that down. And next part. Yeah, I talked about this jump thing. Landmarks and barriers. You want to definitely create important areas with this something that the player will remember. This could be like a visual centerpiece of the room, or like this feeling of the door closed behind me, or maybe the music, maybe the atmosphere, to create something where the player has to go back eventually because it's a lock and key. And you want to create something that they remember where it was, or that there was something significant.
I can give you a quick, interesting research, if that's okay for you, research study on rats and how rats escape labyrinths. And there's two strategies, and depending on if you want to hear that or not, they are actually gender divided, where the rats were trained with a labyrinth of a specific size, length, and width, and with landmarks inside. And then what the researchers did was they made a new labyrinth that was similar to the original one in terms of where the exit was, but for one they changed the spatial dimensions, and for one they re-layouted the landmarks. And one, like the female rats, actually, if the landmarks were the same, it didn't matter the spacing. It took a little bit longer, but they still found the exit. While for the male rats, more dominantly, if it was like the re-spacing was much more difficult. So it seemed like the male rats had much more memorized kind of distances, while the female rats had more memorized the landmarks. But it seems like for humans, both things work intertwined, but as game designers, sometimes such rat studies can be interesting. First of all, because there's a reason why we use rats for experiments that then will later be used for humans. And second, because a lot of games are spatial navigation quests or tasks, right? So this is the whole question. So that's why landmarks on the one hand, and spatial layouting is something that US game designers can play around with, right? It would be interesting in games, we can make exactly the same experiment to our players and sell it as game design. Just something
Yeah, I
to
think,
keep in
I think
mind.
we are definitely in the right genre with this thought, like having a labyrinth, the player, the rat in the labyrinth. Yeah, yeah, that's landmarks, landmarks and barriers. And one thing which is a bit more recent in Metroidvania history is bleeding biomes. That's my way of calling it. We see it a lot in Hollow Knight, where there are certain rooms that are the counterpart, or like the transitional room between one and another biome. So this one is like the crossing from Forbidden Crossroads into the Green Path. And here we see both iconography, like the Forbidden Crossroads shells and stones, and also the bushes from the Green Path. And with the previous landmark thing, that is also something which you remember, which foreshadows the next step. And oftentimes these rooms are also in Hollow Knight, they are gated. I think, yeah, this one, for example, is the other side of Hollow Knight, where you are crossing over from Forbidden Crossroads in the Crystal Caverns, and you can't actually, you need it's ability gated, you need the lock for the key, the ground in this case, and that kind of all together, you can't unlock it. You have this weird, you find it very early in the game and it's purple and the sound's different, and you hear like mining sounds from the underground. And so all of this kind of really creates this memorable thing in this little anchor in your mind that you, as soon as you have the ground pound ability, you will know, like, that's the first place I'm going, because yeah, that was the thing that I found in the first 10 minutes and I want to know.
So you mean they bleed into each other?
Yeah, yeah, and kind of foreshadow, like give even more this landmark, underline even more the landmark thing. Yeah, backtracking, everyone's favorites.
Nice.
Yeah, I realized that too late when I made all the slides. I was like, yeah, well, now I'm not changing all the 30 slides or whatever, but backtracking, a very important thing of Metroidvanias, apparently. We saw, like, with the Super Metroid walkthrough, that's basically the whole thing, that you are continuously asked to backtrack because you have a new key to unlock something. And yeah, the important thing here, because backtracking can get very tedious, and there are a lot of games that really don't do it well, create a meaningful experience with your backtracking. So again, with the Super Metroid example, we saw in the very beginning, you walk down through the ruins of Brinstar that were like atmospheric. You unlock your morph ball and the rockets, and then you have to backtrack, and the area changed. You have a new experience. You're not like walking through everything in reverse, but there are actually enemies now. And Hollow Knight, for example, that's the same with the Forbidden Crossroads, that this is an area where you are traversing a lot, and at a certain point in the game, suddenly it changes and becomes way more difficult, and the art style changes, the music, the enemies, and yeah, this eventually creates this feeling of the evolving world, and very important if you do backtracking. Yeah, that's the reason why the talk is called Exploring and Expanding, or other way around, Metroidvanias. Because that's what they do. They have an expanding, explorable area. So this goes hand in hand with the lock and key. So you start off small, you have a lot of doors that aren't accessible yet. And with your progress in the game, the world also gets larger and larger. So you technically have this open world. I mean, you see here the Hollow Knight world a bit. And a lot of this isn't accessible from the beginning. And you make your way around, and the world is growing with you, basically. And yeah, another very cool tip here is try to give multiple locks for the same key. Don't make it you have the rockets and only one door at a specific point that you can open. But this, for example, little graphic here is in Hollow Knight, you actually at a point want to go into like the Mantis village. It's down here. And you have two passes. Depending on where you explored first in the game, you will find multiple solutions to the same lock, basically. And this gives you this kind of, as a developer, you have to, you know that your players eventually will find a way without getting stuck, without getting frustrated, because you give them a lot of opportunities to find the way. And I think that's what I want to say here. And that this, I think, is a mechanic very useful for a lot of games. Like I remember that the Small Hike game, I don't know if you played this with the Short Hike, yeah, sorry. That they also have a very nice talk about this kind of, there's a shovel that you need, and we have like 8 locations where you can find the shovel. As soon as you find the one shovel, all others are deleted because you need to find just one shovel. But you have to find one, and you don't want to wander around for 3 hours not finding the one shovel that is in the game. Just give them 8 possibility Schrödinger shovels, and yeah, that's yeah, Sheila again.
So you're talking about master keys to the same block?
No, vice versa. Is it written the same? Multiple locks for the same key.
You shovel the key?
Yeah, it's in this case just giving multiple, like you have an ability and you want to give the players multiple points of interest to use that on that lead you to the critical path. To not make you like, hey, I have the key and now I have to search for the door, but like, hey, I have the key and around this corner there is a door that I can unlock, and from this point on, all other doors are like, you don't have to care about them anymore, but maybe you find another one, and
Okay, so basically both, you want to have multiple blocks for the same key and multiple keys for the same one.
Not necessarily. Technically, you want to have only one key that unlocks a specific type of lock. So with the Metroid example, you want the missiles only unlock pink doors. But you want to, there's one missile unlock, and then you might want to scatter around multiple pink doors that all eventually lead again to the same boss fight, for example. But don't have like one missile unlock and just one pink door that leads to the next boss fight, because then you might have a player stuck for a while searching for the one critical path.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I think some places where we just want to make a but we have a light drifter where in every area you have like four shards. Like in area there are 8. So you don't have to search for one.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Maybe you can just like stumble on another, so it's like making it less frustrating.
Yeah.
Also, Zelda has same type of key for the same type of block.
Yeah.
And in certain dungeons allows you to choose the order of the rooms, which is also another alternation which is beneficial.
The sequence breaking part in Metroidvanias is kind of a difficult topic, because a lot of the game design depends on basically having a linear path that you will uncover, but some do it a bit better than others, or risk a bit more, but yeah. Let's go on. Distinct areas. I think also the look at Super Metroid was a nice introduction to this. This is Metroid Prime for the GameCube. Very good, nice game as well. But if you squint your eyes, you will be able to the beamer is not great on my screen, or the screen maybe it's a bit better, but you will be able to differentiate these areas. Like you have the lush green thing which always rains, you have the cold blue icy area, you have the dusty ruins, you have the black orange magma, and you have the purple brown mine industrial area. Because you have these areas that your players are traversing, you want to create like a unique character for them to again help with the exploration part, that you realize, you remember there was this pink door that I can unlock and that was in the green area. And yeah, basically giving this easy to grasp, like it's basically subconscious memorization of the area.
A question about the 3D, because you were talking about backtracing. And if you remember in real life, right, if you go away in one direction, it might feel very different from walking the same. Sometimes you might have difficulties finding the same way back because it looks, because you have the 2D. Did you have the feeling that was easier in 3D? Like, was it more fun to backtrace in 3D because the experience is different? Because the 2D screen will always look the same, right? Even if you put monsters inside.
I think maybe the Metroid Prime games are also not the best example for that, but I think in a isolated way, it would make more. It's more fun, or you have more opportunities to build a nice experience. But the Prime games are also a bit harder in terms of their world design. It's a bit more fucked up, to be honest. Like not so nicely composed as the 2D games, but yeah.
Okay.
But I feel like the 3D Prime games solved that in a like decent way, because you had like pathways that just lead you in one direction, either forth or back, and then you had like little hub rooms where you had like 2 different or 3, 4 different possible directions where you could go. And if you like decided on, okay, I will take like the first door on the right side or something, you can then go back and take the first on the left side and find your way back. And the rooms were like really built in a way that they had like little landmarks in the room. For example, I don't know, next to one door there was like a blinking console or something, so you could remember, okay, I came through the door with a console thingy or something like that. So you could actually find your...
I have a few slides down the road exactly this hub, not this one, but the hub and spoke system. Yeah, we will come to this. And I wanted to say something to the 3D Metroids, but they have this, they solved that also. I think you don't have that much small scale backtracing, but you have this big artifact hunt at the end, where Super Metroid and Hollow Knight are more like one flow in the 3D Metroids. And for example, Castlevania, which is on screen right now, you play the game once, have everything unlocked, and then the game asks you now go around and collect again everything everywhere, and that unlocks the final boss. And these are like that's where like the Castlevania is also coming from, where you have like the Castlevania, Metroidvania, these 2 different philosophies of one is more holistic, you have the game in one go, while the other one is like making you go around once and then again with all the powers, which is a lot of fun to collect artifacts of some sort to unlock the final boss. But yeah. Let's get on. Point of no return. Very good thing as well, already in the 1986 Metroid. Here's a good example from Metroid Dread. Basically, you can walk and slide, run and slide through this small gap, and then you're on the other side, and your floor is like exactly too low, so you can't run, slide back, and now you're confined in this little area. We saw that with Super Metroid, again, this door that you shoot the blue button, you go through and it closes behind you. Very good strategy to keep your players in one area that you want them to be in, and explore this, and maybe they get like the artifact, the power up to get out of this room later. And all the unlocks in the Metroid games are tiny tutorials of that. Like you go into the room, we saw that earlier with the high jump, for example, you drop down a ledge, you get the item, and that actually makes you be able to get out back again. If you don't collect the item, you are stuck forever in the room where the item is. So yeah. Breadcrumbing, a bit hard to see here, but this ball in the middle here, that's Samus, again, Metroid Dread. Use little items and optional pickups. Sheila mentioned that earlier, this kind of like that's ammunition now, or like a small power up that is not important for the game. Use that to like draw the players over to like maybe a gameplay challenge here, a difficult jump or something like this. And you can use that as well to like mark the Mario style, mark the critical pass with coins. So the players will like want to collect the coins and be a bit more creative, maybe with like a weapon upgrade, but that's basically breadcrumbing. And yeah.
Wait,
sorry. Everyone, it's basically what I said, I guess. Giving them meaningful like incentive for environmental challenges that you wouldn't take normally. And Ori, for example, and Hollow Knight are full of this, that you're constantly, why did I kill myself here again? And then at the end, like, I have 420 coins, cool. Hub and spoke and fast travel. We briefly touched on this earlier. A lot of Metroidvania games feature, like, this is Castlevania, a central corridor, for example, where the rest of the map is branching off of, or fast travel points that you mentioned it in Metroid Prime have like a little, this kind of spoke, like imagine this wheel of a carriage that you have this central thing and then like in all directions, little corridors that you will be able to explore, go back to the hub, explore the other thing, blah, blah, blah. And
So that's the spoke, the center of the wheel.
no, the spoke is the spoke, like the
Speicher.
Speicher. Yeah, yeah.
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 I still don't know what's a spoke.
Like imagine the carriage wheel or like your bike wheel, the little rods from the center to the wheel. So you have like the hub in the center and then these spokes that go out. So yeah, and that's not the best screenshot, but in Hollow Knight we have like the fast travel things as little hubs. And I mean, here is Queen Station. Everyone that played it will remember Queen Station because you have this fast travel point here, and then one spoke is bringing you to the fungal waste. Eventually going into like the City of Tears, which is very important. The other spoke to the fog thing, fog canyon, yeah. Then you go down. I don't remember the name of this, but that's like one. Like it's also like a subway station in the art and lore of the game, so it makes sense that it's also like use this idea to make your players explore the world.
What other games do you know that use a hub spoke mechanic, especially a central one? Do you know Warcraft, like this one warp city? Did that one have a lot of paths going off of it? I also think Final Fantasy VIII had such a station in the first third of it. Oh, right, of course, right.
Yeah, true. But I mean, Super Mario. Well, you said Super Mario, right?
That's
But that's like it has. Yeah, okay, 64. Yeah, but that's more like a hub world, and then like a lot of levels. But yeah, technically like just hub. Yeah.
Okay, so this stuff, but I'm not sure because I can't play too much. It does.
Yeah, I think all the
Maybe just fast travel.
yeah. But I think World of Warcraft would also be, I guess, a good idea. But that's then again like like same as our real world. That's basically a hub and spoke system in itself. That you have like Wiener Platz, and from there you can go to CGL, but also to Ehrenfeld or Leverkusen or blah blah blah, because you have eight different public transport lines there.
Yeah, but Pokemon doesn't, I think not every Pokemon game had that, for example, right? Because certain games also have worlds where they need glitter, sorry,
Don't worry. Dark Souls has that a lot.
Yeah,
Like
the
one
original.
you can point to, and then like different pathways that open up, which are kind of limiting the player by facing more challenging enemies. To limit the progress that you can like push through if you want to. And also the Zelda game for the DS, I think 10 hours that was it, where you always come back to the same starting
spirit tracks, I think, right? There is even turns with
I did not play Spirit Tracks.
Okay,
I was like one temple that you started at the beginning. I think it was called the Temple of the Ski God or whatever. And we could unlock abilities and would visit it again and unlock more. And then this was like the huge spoke wheel where you basically come back every time and then search new areas.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a widely used mechanic to kind of guide an exploration in general. Yeah. Okay. I don't know how many there are still, but yeah. So save stations, also important thing. We didn't saw it in the Super Metroid walkthrough, but that's a picture of a save station in Super Metroid down there in Castlevania, the famous benches in Hollow Knight, and yeah, basically a room of calmness, a room where there are no enemies, where you can relax and save your progress. And funnily enough, in Hollow Knight, you actually don't save there. It's just a bench to refill your life points, but and respawn. But Hollow Knight saves when you turn it off, which the old games of technical limitations didn't do. And yeah, Dark Souls might be inspired by this. And secrets. As well, like if you have exploration, please also include secrets, because that's just way too much fun to discover. Picture like symbol build secrets. You're not on the map anymore, and yeah, secrets, small hidden stuff that you like have maybe a small puzzle in like navigational or fighting or smart thinking, and reward the player with like optional unlocks and resources. Yeah, and that's it. That's the list of how to Metroidvania.
Wait, let's all take.
I hope that helps a bit. And that's also not like that's what I came up with a bit by looking at other video essays and the games, and so there might be more, and maybe also stuff that you could look more into. But yeah, I think a lot of games and ideas can profit from these simple mechanics. And yeah, I have more. There's another part. I know that the time is over, but we could, if you want to, go on and look at a few of modern games. But I'm also happy to call it here. Like,
I mean, does anybody want to go to the second part of the movie night?
We're gonna spend 8:30.
yeah, half an hour.
Oh, okay,
Or-
yeah, but then just continue.
Okay. But yeah, questions, present.
Take 5 minutes.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, I would also be in. Yeah. You, before we take the break, honorable mentions. The escape sequence, artifact hunt, and false ending.
Do you have examples from this?
Escape sequence, every Metroid game has this kind of 1 minute timer and you have to run out back to your ship. Ori does that a lot. I think Ori basically every area ends with like a boss fight, but that's more like an escape sequence, which is very hard. Artifact hunt, we talked about that earlier, is this kind of, you finish every unlock and then the game asks you now go around with your powers and have fun and unlock all these 12 artifacts or whatever. And false ending, I mean, kind of clear as well. That's not, what do you say, patented by Metroidvania. I think a lot of media in general does that. But you have that in a lot of games actually, like Hollow Knight as a modern example, and Castlevania also has this kind of credit roll, and it feels like the ending, and then it goes on, and you are a bit surprised that there's still more to do, and some games actually have a lot more after the false ending. Yeah. So this is kind of also a false ending, actually, no? Because we, we're not, it's over. No, there's into the future, but yeah.
Cool, then thank you so far.
There's one question if you want to, but then we can. Yeah.
Okay.
And let's have a break for 10 minutes and then we can start another more Q&A later.
I also think the backtracking effect is super interesting because like also it's used in like open world games. For example, the new Zelda game totally rely on the backtracking thing because you basically they guide the player by using the shooter power and landmarks and now the interest and then the attack. And the whole world is set up in a triangular form, so you always keep build up the land ahead of you and then you see the direction.
Well, I thought I've been just trying and eventually trying to figure out any words that they use.
That's what happened in Sky every time.
I actually first
This game and you come down
outside because everything in the games is inspired from the same.
you come out and my different area and then you have to start exploring the whole world and it's like, oh, it's like 5 hours into the game, I haven't reached the first city yet.
But the one in the articles, it's scientific things where, like, for example, a lot of those things, right, can be found in biology and in biological studies, right, and in psychology. And then when you start learning the languages, when you understand the principle, you can apply it. So that's what I can tell you. And I mean, some people call it lock and key, right? So this is a mechanism when you also call it gates, right? In a labyrinth. So in a way, what you have to do is literally. Yeah, exactly. That's just I think. But also, I think so and manga would be a direct one. I have examples. Can't give any of them feeling of, yeah, I read the back. It's the stand behind it, right? So. I probably want satisfied. Not necessarily flaws, I think it is, but first of all, I made them when you're and sometimes was when you saw that they actually branched out and actually read some outside the papers, and then I was like, actually, this is not that, let me just, let me go to process.
Maybe like any games that fall like
But yeah, so tell me what exactly your problem is, or what your problem is, or what you're interested in, and then give you a tip on the keywords I think you should go.
Okay, so so in storytelling, basically you're learning from the person, depending on what and you really should want so if you're having the like and it's kind of more like dialogues, I mean this also like old Zelda game when talk okay. Certain areas have like the stone that controls the holes or like the stone that can walk away or something. The last way is
This one is
the one I'm using. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
What I mean by art style is, for example, like in Spider-Verse, it's basically
You're right.
Art
Yeah.
style. And our game would be developed during that, but not from an artist perspective, even though it would be very useful, but also from a design perspective, we could just find the colors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like basically, I'm not like books for design line.
I would start reading the Wikipedia articles and then I would start trying to find some foundational literature on that. And I would actually really look at symbols and iconography. And because I think that the best design language, especially if you're trying to introduce several different game mechanics, which I have seen several attempts by students on that, and none ever emerged as human.
Yeah.
So this is a very interesting challenge, and even if you don't succeed, it's a great process to do. And if you succeed, what I think where I would start is look at the designers and engineers that had to solve this problem in real life. People who make signs for cars, people who make sign language in airports, where you, at least before you have smartphones, you have to ensure that people understand what they have to do and where they have to go. And that is where you find a combination of really visual design, visual languages combined with logic language, and how you pour people kind of how you make people go in the right direction and do the right things. I think that as an inspiration combination will probably give you your own ideas. And then I almost prefer you not to be biased by whatever a game design will tell you, oh yeah, you can do this, or this, right? do a lower mechanic or do a lower planning, right?
Backtracking.
Forget about that. First being a bit more of a blank, chaotic, unknown canvas right now is probably going to be more interesting.
Well, I don't think about it, but I imagine it's sort of kind of story moment that I think there are like so many things because about like if you remember I was used to know that I was like but then again, I'm not sure that it's exactly what's going to be like a gameplay, like a dark language, one of them just making it with the separate.
I mean, the truth is, as a game designer, and at the beginning, this might feel a little bit, or it felt overwhelming to me, but the truth is, you can think about and make a decision, and a conscious decision on any single thing. A color has meaning, right? And the more you start to be aware about every single decision you make, be it about shape, be it about using words or not using words, using sound, which sounds to use, what is attached to that. A thing is always the thing plus anything connected to the thing and all the parameters the thing has. So as a game designer, the more aware you are of the parameters the thing has, for example, when you compare two things, whatever, take a smartphone and an Apple. What you do is you have the smartphone and you could simply sit down and write a list and start with, okay, it has a shape, it has a color, it has, ways to use it, it has skills, right? It has things that continued use or changes in the player. So, and then after a while, your brain will come to the conclusion they are similar or those two things are dissimilar. They're, for example, pretty similar in terms of size. You can put them in your hand, right? They're not as dissimilar as a smartphone and a house. On the other hand, in house and smartphone and smartphone. So after a while, you have to become a little bit like Neo and start to see the world in terms of what it is, what it connects to, and also what it connects to in your mind.
I mean, goes through it and get people,
right? Just because you show analysis doesn't mean that this person in China will have the same association.
Yes,
right?
for that period,
That we have.
so just let them
Right?
spontaneously raise question during the slides.
It's a puzzle here, but then you make a puzzle impossible, which is also different. So that's why I was trying to guide you a little bit to foundational, not sign language in the sense of, even though, of course, you can also look at sign language because that is also important. But I really mean like arrows. Why are arrows looking the way they are, right? But who came up with the idea to make an arrow intuitively understandable? Right, or certain symbols that indicate movement, or this being like, right, exactly, and why is it so intuitive? And I think when you start thinking about those things, I think you will find answers to your game that are more interesting.
Also, why they also kind of bring into the mechanics themselves to the multiple certain games. So, for example, a sign makes for certain battles over. I guess you can see how they are one can also be applicable in the interaction and what it tells the interaction itself when you start looking at
that's exactly where it's beneficial for every game designer to look into like what an artist is doing, because art constantly thinking about shape design, what does a shape convey, flow, color management. And what does color say?
And curves.
And curves, yeah. So this is like the translation from an art, like from the thinking of an artist to take this thought process and put it into a whole game or in game mechanics.
Exactly, that was my question. I just wanted to basically have different art styles in video games, but in the design perspective of the art, so different. Well, yeah, I think I subconsciously asked you because it reminds me a lot of the notes that you showed us.
I mean, I can, at least when it comes to social interaction influencing the gameplay, I don't have an exact answer for you, but I can tell you that the last 2 games I designed both have to do with social interaction. One game is a point and click adventure where it's without words, so like 12 sheep or something like that, and you get into, which I would say is a combination of a puzzle and or a Pokemon fight mechanic, where you interact with your captors. You're a princess, you're in a tower, and then there's the goblins who protect the door. And you can knock on the door, and then you're in a social interaction kind of situations, and you get gestures. So you get the stand-ins for language. You can't say specific things, you can just symbolize what kind of action you want to do. You can get closer to them, and that will have an effect on them, depending on their personality. One might either be like, you're getting too close, right? You close the door, and the other one is like, right? That is the thing, but you can also, right? You can have positive gestures, you can have compliments, which is just this thing, but then you can also have, I mean, we didn't put this one in the game, but we have like this, which is actually interpreted in 2 ways, depending on where how the goblin sees you. If they already trust you a little bit, they see it as a brofist, and they give you the brofist back, right? But if they don't, they're like, why are you attacking me, right? And then they get fearful and run away. So this is one way how I try to do it, but for that, I mean, the process I did is I didn't read a book. I went into sign language in different cultures. I went into into communication science, and I looked at basic types of communication. Is it towards the person or not? Then I try to look into psychology and see how can people interpret things based on their state of mind or how fearful they are. So the thing is, you're asking me for a book, but what I have to tell you is every single design decision, the answers can be found in different scientific domains. You have to know how and why humans and what type of humans react to what and how to establish others. Because what I love about your idea is that it demonstrates that you understand how the world is just us playing small little micro games, right? And how context is gameplay.
Okay, excuse me, let's start. I need to find somewhere to interrupt you.
No, hear about it. I'm sorry to understand this guy.
Grab your food real quick, and we're going to start our next session.
Yeah, I also like it was a lot already, so I hope that this is a bit more lightweight and a bit more discussion. But yeah.
All right, then. Let's get started. Let's step into the future and see what the Metroidvanias game looks like right now, and then we can discuss more later on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You had a question already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe because it seems that you're going to the future. So,
Yeah.
I didn't know I really did the so I don't know if it's separate. But your presentations says how to Metroidvania, but I didn't see any painting.
Yeah, that's a bit on purpose. I kind of talked a lot about Metroid and Castlevania. Way in the beginning, I kind of had both games next to each other and were like, Castlevania does a lot of things similar because also it was like 3 years later, kind of inspired by Metroid. And Castlevania has this castle theme where you're like Alucard, spoiler alarm. That's like Dracula in reverse. It's the first game where you're actually playing the bad guy in the Castlevania series, and Castlevania has an RPG mechanic, so you level up and you get technically just stronger by like RPG standards, like your attack does a bit more damage and stuff like this. You still have all the unlocks and the gated world, but this is the biggest difference between both games. And I think Castlevania had, Symphony of the Night had fast travel, for example, which Super Metroid didn't, which became a staple of the game after that. And today every game has basically Castlevania's version of fast travel with like stations that connect to each other. And yeah, in the broad strokes, very similar, and then there's tiny little differences. And I think in the community, I also have something to talk about this. There are some people that also call certain games the reverse, what is like Castleroid. Same as you have like with roguelike and roguelite, where there's also this community that is like really debating, is this game now a roguelike or light? You technically could do the same at Metroidvanias, that you say, for example, Blasphemous is more like a Castleroid because it takes more from Castlevania than Metroid. And yeah.
But then one question, if I look at the older Zeldas, if I now take Zelda and Castlevania and Metroid, it's actually all three have the lock and key principle, so exploration plus lock and key, and then one has character, like basically you get points and level up. One has, you have to explore more, like really raw exploration, and then the last one has more of a storytelling. Right, because Zelda is the most linear of the one, but you still have the same lock and key principles and the exploration.
I think Zelda has this lock and key more, that you find a key, unlock one door, and the key is gone. Where you have
No, not if you take the box.
If you take true.
And
the grappling.
You can go back to past dungeons and unlock the secrets if it's free. You also can get.
True. That is actually
use it for fights. So it has a lot of, to me, it's not like the first half of Metroid that you showed is like a Zelda game in a different skin, and only then in the latter
you're right.
really go around. That's what Zelda doesn't work as much.
Zelda is more.
That's the most casual of the three, and a little bit more story based. But I wonder why it's always like Metroidvania, as if Zelda was a completely different type of gameplay.
As my perspective, jumping is a very major role here.
Because Zelda doesn't have to jump.
Maybe Zelda was never flat 2D, top down, or.
No, it was, but the one that they have in flat 2D is horrible.
Probably Game Boy.
Zelda 2, and it looks like sides rolling super ugly. It's like it's ugly, it's unplayable.
Then just a brief look into the future. So we had these three candidates earlier, the Prime series, where Metroid went to Texas, basically. Texas, an American studio, got the license from Nintendo to make the 3D Metroid games for GameCube and later than Wii. And different from what we've seen so far. Still follows the same principle, but they have this weird shooter thing where you have your movement, your camera control, but then you also have this little cursor in your visor, and you can basically look this direction, but also shoot over there, which to my, I don't, there's no other game that is doing that. And actually with the Wii, that's kind of very perfect for this, where you have the remote, that you have basically movement, looking around and pointing. And they remade Echoes and Prime for the Wii, and I think Prime has gotten a remake for Switch as well. A few, like 2 years ago or this year. I think this year. And doesn't really matter, but yeah. And Metroid also saw some other games. So Zero Mission is, for example, the Game Boy Advance remake of Metroid 1. Which is very cool, very colorful, but very hand-holdy compared to the original. And then we have Other M, which is considered as like one of the worst Metroids, which has like, it's basically Halo for kids. Like it has a lot of characters. There are characters here. Yeah. And it's completely hand-holdy, like everyone, like you just get told what to do, which the original, like normal Metroidvanias don't have. And so that's a bit the future of Metroid. Of course, we got Metroid Dread, which is very good on Switch, I think 2020 or 2021. And that is really nice to check out. And these are some images of the Prime series. And I think that lower left is actually the Switch remake. The other one with the characters is, I guess, the third one. And yeah, they shifted really, like if you watched footage, I played them like on Wii when I was a teenager or a young teenager. And I was watching footage of this for this talk and was like, yeah, okay, that's Halo. It's basically really Halo. It has the same aesthetic and this kind of cinematic action, and went away from this dark, moody atmosphere. And yeah, so it works in 3D, but was very different. And Prime 4, I think community is waiting for this, but it's also one of the games that is like announced for quite some while, and we didn't got any news yet. And yeah, let's see. And yeah, this is the part now where we can, like, there is technically a bunch, but we can kind of skim over and pick maybe games to talk about if you want to. So this was my idea to kind of say we have today we have different. I should have made a slide where it says like it's 3 categories I made. It's the Metroidvanias that are basically really following the formula, and yeah, these 3 examples here. Then the second one is like the games that they take pieces of Metroids and Metroidvania games and make something new. And then the third one is knowledge-based games, which I really like, and I just wanted to get in there actually. And in a way, they are also Metroidvanias by not by unlocking items, but by unlocking knowledge. And yeah, I don't know if there's if someone says like we want to talk about Ori or Blasphemous. That was my thing. Like for everyone, I put like a little video with some gameplay. So. So Ori has these same tropes that you unlock powers, that unlock doors, and so on. And there's a big community always discusses about stuff. A lot of people say Ori is actually not a Metroidvania, but like an action platformer, because for a lot of people, Ori, what we saw here, has a lot of these navigational puzzles that you have to jump and double jump and dash and then hold on to this and then climb on this moving platform and jump over there. So that's definitely like your navigation movement platformer, with also heavy emphasis on fighting. And yeah, I think that's what I just said. And yeah, escape sequences are big in Ori. And the second game, I don't know, is my personal favorite. The second game is really cool because it's action platforming at its best. And yeah, Blasphemous, we talked about that earlier. I don't know if we could just like, yeah. Very Castlevania inspired, very cool iconography, very Dark Souls inspired. The whole story just in the description. It's crystal gore. Very gory, very bloody, very slow, and yeah. Okay. And
oh yeah,
crazy boss fights, like really, really cool, weird art style. Yeah. And this game just has the kind of casserole because yeah, from the style, it's way more an homage to like you always like all the UI elements. You always like have this styling of like medieval times and Christianity, and you don't have to unlock anything to progress in the game. So it's just like a Metroidvania progression, but without locked doors, basically. Everything is optional, and you can play the game without having powers. And yeah, a lot of action. Dark Souls mechanic as well, in terms when you die, you lose your souls and have to go back and retrieve them. And yeah. And they got a second one actually this year, which I haven't played yet. And that's on my list for like the next few months, but looks very cool. And then of course, I just put that here for fun. That's like the best. I have to up the volume again. It's just a resting. This is the best way. Like,
And we were kind of trying to ask you like time limitation.
it's fun.
Yeah, exactly. What
Yeah.
is that?
And ours, the soundtrack song is called. And that always plays at these things. And every time I play Hollow Knight, I have like 10 minutes where I'm just sitting at the bench and just like taking it all in. And yeah. Yeah. It's the best. Like this one and the one in the Tears, in the City of Tears, where you have like the rain in the window. Like it's basically your cozy, like and play that in autumn and yeah, really best. Yeah, Hollow Knight. I also just like must have been living.
What's it to say? Yeah, even though Celeste doesn't have like places where you like save, it still has those moments of okay, I will just stand here for the next 15 minutes and enjoy the atmosphere and listen to the music. I think that's a really good feature.
This is like, yeah, that's so nice if you are able to achieve that in your game. Like that people just enjoy not playing the game and just standing there in a 2D game without like 3D graphics and everything. And
In Undertale, we also chill out with ghosts, right?
Oh, Undertale always has like, for me, it's like very connected to Hollow Knight because of, I don't know, this
indie game.
indie game. No, of this vibe, yeah, of this romantic, like romantic, the German art period of nostalgia and melancholy.
Oh, really?
And
but it is romantic combined with surrealism.
yeah, that's Undertale. And
intentionally lose some fights just to re-listen to the music. Yeah, definitely.
I just missed.
I mean, in Hollow Knight, I'm going back to just listen to the Reflection song. So, yeah. Okay, yeah. Then this is my second category here, where I brought in System Shock because I had to talk about immersive sims. But yeah, games that borrow more Metroidvania mechanics to enhance another genre. And yeah, Carrion was a very interesting thing. That's like a reverse horror game, which feels very much like a Metroidvania, but isn't. Like it feels very much like it, but yeah, actually you don't have a lot of the Metroidvania tropes are missing. System Shock came out the same year, like a few months after Super Metroid. Is 3D immersive sim. Basically, System Shock was one of the grandfathers of immersive sims and has this backtracking a lot. And there's actually one voice recording you find in the game where it talks about like you are the rat in the maze, and if you look at the maps from System Shock, that basically looks like that. Yeah, and Souls, I mean, speaks for itself, and I guess we talked about that a bit earlier, has like inspired a few mechanics from Metroid and became its own genre. And now we have then games like Hollow Knight or Blasphemous that are taking stuff from Souls and Metroid and creating their own game, which I don't know, find it very cool.
But I would also link Undertale to System Shock in the sense that they're subverting, they're interacting much more with the player on a psychological level. And using this game player interaction much more for, you know.
I think what I wanted to try to show with these is like, I should have made a graph, but technically we have like the extrovert thing, which is the Metroidvania, where you are acting on the world. Now we are like on the middle part, where like in Dark Souls, you are learning stuff about the game, but you're also still getting stronger in the game. Like your character does more damage, but you also know better how to better play. And with the next one, I know that's gonna be horrible to skip through if we want to. With the
Take a look at
but we are just with this. Now we are in knowledge-based games, which are like the intrinsic. I even said it, Metroidvanias, but intrinsic. Like you don't unlock anything anymore in the game. You have all the tools from the start, and everything happens in your mind. And yeah, I just wanted to highlight that. But yeah, now I have a problem. Now I.
Lost all the Metroidvania.
Oh.
But
I think people have started calling games like that knowledge-based games, but Metroidvania, I'm definitely.
it's like,
Yeah.
it's hard to have an vocabulary for Ukrainians.
Okay, no, I've never heard that.
It might be a different game.
Okay.
So they're called in Newman here, that's the common term.
That's good. That's good to know. Yeah.
Wait, but quickly go back.
Yeah. So what did we wanted to look at? Carry on?
Yes.
All of them.
All of them. Okay, yeah.
It's not single places in structure that these.
Yeah.
Whatever you're picked out as.
It's not special, but yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I actually. So get ready for Dark Souls. Yeah, okay, they're not that special. I just wanted to find the Dark Souls clip where it's like, everyone knows that you died somewhere. Now you have to go back and then just looking at like how the rat remembers everything. And if you play Dark Souls, you know exactly where that is. Like you know, like okay, now I go up here. I got invaded there once. Now there's this part with like the bridge and the archers. They're in the bridge to the left is the bonfire. There's this fucked up place where you have to go into the building on the right. Like it's crazy how you memorize this place. And I think that's the mental map thing of Metroid. The Souls games really, the Souls games don't have a map. That's also the thing why. But I just searched for something where someone is just walking around and not fighting necessarily to get this kind of having the this mental map of the. So yeah, Dark Souls. Should I turn on the light again or just go with this?
Go for it.
Okay. So it's very dark and atmospheric, like like just here. And yeah, big points to highlight: map, mental map, and hub and spoke. Save station secrets. I guess everyone that played knows. Landmarks. Breadcrumbing, we talked about it earlier. You see like the little item on the bridge and you don't know how to get there and you will die a few times getting there and then it's like nothing special, but it kind of made you do something. And yeah, I think Souls games and Elden Ring, we can talk a lot about these. And
By the way, is anybody who has no idea where the term breadcrumbing might come from? Yeah. But that's why it's worthwhile to read Veritas. This will be one special lecture where we actually go through Veritas and try to extract the most interesting potential game they can in, because breadcrumbing is just one of them, and Veritas are so good at condensing, at using mnemonic markers. Like rhymes or iconic objects, right? Like an apple or the golden ball, or right, or the Lincoln thing. Yeah.
Get ready to. But it's not a special, and it's the remake this year. So go get this one. Don't buy the enhanced or like the original one. Like,
So,
yeah, but technically the old ones also. And
so it looks glossy and plastic.
it's really cool to play it. It's like all very like pixelated textures actually. It feels really good to play. And yeah, System Shock, I don't know, invented an immersive sim, and you have this space station, the original game from '94. The original controls are horrendously insane. Like it's basically without a mouse, or like you look around up and down with your keyboard, but the mouse is doing everything else, and like aiming and managing your inventory and so on. And this one actually adds like a normal first-person shooter controller. And yeah, you have these memorable areas that we see in Metroidvanias, like this one is the red area, the research, and then you have medical, which is like, okay, that's not the best part here, but it's blue. And then you have like the executive, which is like black, and the bio area, which is green, storage, which is also some kind of blue. And yeah, backtrack and have to take a lot of elevators and stuff like that. And you have this super nice evil AI. That's
Who of you knows the role-playing game Paranoia? Who has heard of the role-playing game Paranoia? Pen and paper role-playing. Because that is the grandfather
of System Shock.
of System Shock Portal, any kind of like controlled by AI kind of genre. Paranoia is absurdist game where you are in a society where constantly it's this big brother is watching you, kind of from that era, and inspired by the literature, dystopian literature that came out there.
Yeah.
Visually, it reminded me of Bioshock a lot.
Yeah, guess where the name comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sparks that came from the ceiling.
Yeah. Yeah, like the Bioshock is the direct lineage of System Shock, and like there is a whole topic, a whole talk about immersive sims to be had, but yeah, the wrench is like the one icon that is always like Prey. Even the first weapon you get is the wrench. Yeah, that has to be there. And yeah, when I first played it this year, like the remaster, I was really like, why isn't that actually considered to be a Metroid? Because it feels so much what you're doing and memorizing and backtracking and checking every corner and door and stuff like that. Yeah, and Carrion, monster, super fun game. Very gory, but pixel gore is fun always. Yeah, and it's a reverse horror, so you are the alien monster, where normally in every other game you are like the soldier that wants to run away and fight it, and here you are the monster and in the vents and. This is a thing, the Metroid scene, they unlocked a new power up, parasite. That's the new power. You with your tentacle from the vents and infect the human, and now you're the human. Very cool game, like short fun game. Kind of linear, that's also the thing where it's not so much like a Metroid. It has like one simple hub world, which everyone else is branching off of. Yeah, kind of like a CGL.
Yeah, exactly. To get strings look good in games, right? And
Danger.
that is the part of yours that is concurrence.
To the left there?
Yeah.
That's like your goal. Like you have a certain areas, like holes that you want to infect and spread your growth, basically. And
but there was the same option
oh no, I wanted to skip. No, so in Carrion you have pools where you can deposit parts of yourself to get bigger or smaller, but there are no enemies in terms of the same monster. So, but
Okay,
this is
so
getting,
it's okay, in fact.
yeah, this getting like your abilities are basically locked to the size you are. So you have certain locks where you know, like, okay, I have to be the big one for this because they have like the big punch or something, and then you have other things where you have to get invisible, and that only the small one can do. And yeah.
Okay. Wish list.
Yeah, Carrion, as I said, like inverted horror, very fun, also kind of short and linear, and yeah. And then finally the last, and now we can talk about Tutorial. So as George said, these are like the Metroidvanias, games where you have everything from the start, and only your knowledge that you unlock is advancing your play. And when we talk about Tunic, for example, and Outer Wilds, they are very far away actually from their 3D or like top down, and on the first glance don't have anything to do with the genre. Yeah, with these games, spoilers are very difficult, so I guess that's why I only have the trailers. And like play them, don't look anything up, even not for scientific reasons. You have to play them because yeah, these are only playable ones. And so yeah, these are like this a little trailer show now, but every Zelda fan, Tunic is basically Zelda. Dark Souls a bit, of course. And mystery. I think the main point to see in the trailer is there was unit features. And figuring out how the game works. And that's the nice thing. So you have the tools, you unlock a bit during the game, but the biggest part of Tunic is kind of understanding what and how to use it. And that's really, really cool.
So were you going to do that?
I can't say that. Maybe. But no, I beforehand I was like, no, I can't, I won't spoil these games.
Yeah, sure, because this is why you never talk about Outer Wilds in any class.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that's the best video game ever made, in case you didn't know. And I really like the trailer because the trailer here is very like not telling you anything. Yeah, I was thinking we talk about that earlier. Yeah, Outer Wilds is about exploration, and the trailer also says it later. Yeah. It started, yeah, very long development, very like, they like play the game and then watch the no-clip documentary about it. Very, very inspirational indie title. Yeah. Yeah, and this game, I guess, I also where knowledge base for me definitely is coming from is this everything and only the knowledge you acquire only unlocking tasks. And yeah.
Annapurna are the same that make storytelling game. It's the same studio that made the storytelling game.
Annapurna is the publisher in this case.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and Annapurna is also like for me personally as well, like top of the list. Like every game they release. Yeah, I think the latest one is this Cocoon, like last week, 2 weeks ago or so. Awesome game, like thinking with portals is old, thinking with dimensions is the new thing. But yeah, And then for the last thing, finally, the bird game, and I think that's also gameplay. Yeah, you are this bird, and you can do two things. We saw it. You can stomp on the ground, or you can tweet, and that's it. And you collect pieces to unlock like the door for the next level, and then everything else is you influencing the environment. You have different kinds of animals. We saw like these crabs here with the blocks. And earlier there was a frog, for example, there are birds. And through the game, you will slowly learn how they react to your two input methods. And for example, if you tweet, they come to you. If you stomp on the ground, they run away. And yeah, that's it. Very, very cute, cozy game. And this one is very cool. If you played it once and started again, then it's sequence breaking time, because you have learned so much about the mechanics that you now are able to do really, really cool things. And there's a very cool, very old video of Game Maker's Toolkit about this game, like 8 years old or something, where he basically explained, and that's very, very cool to look at. Stomp. Bubble. Yeah.
Isn't Spelunky similar, where you have to like try out a lot? I mean, it's more a roguelike, because you always start from the beginning again if you die, and unlock more areas and stuff like that. But
I think I would consider Spelunky more like a roguelike. Just complete like trying out, dying, trying out. I think belongs in this genre more than this one. And this one is also like all the levels are made and not randomized and stuff like this. But I think you're right with this, that Spelunky also has this very limited input, that you just like have the leash and or like the peitsche and like the few things. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for staying with me. We are nearly done, or no? A conclusion if we want to look at this. My big wall of text, I wanted to put actually a picture of a wall there. And yeah, that's my talk. And yeah. To the conclusion, yeah. Sorry, let's
say something first. We have 10 minutes left for our next movie night.
Movie night.
So yes, we can start talking about it. Just remind you that there's 10 minutes left for our next. Okay. So you want to go back to one previous slides and
that's the So I did this thing that I bold texted the important parts, but yeah.
So maybe just 1 minute or 2, then tea break, and then we go into a little bit of conversation.
Yes. No, I mean, now we can start the conversation. Just remind you that we might use 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. 1 minute tea break.
That's a long one.
Sorry,
It's fine.
tendency to go for
I can be the pattern because there's indeed a lot to talk about. Something in your mind, you need to figure that out.
So most people are already
I mean, maybe it's not intended for all the time for everybody.
Do you know the land? Which laptop are we currently using? Just
Or there is also now can get loops or something like that.
That's Luke.
That's right, yeah.
But that's an immersive sim more. Like from Arcane Studios. That's technically an immersive sim. You have the world that you are acting on, and it's a simulation of people that are doing their normal stuff.
it's about the relationship with all the people.
Nice to see a master's students here at Forum Ludorum. You managed. So the course, so no course is happening this evening for everybody? Or?
Yes, but it's optional.
Ah, nice. Awesome. Nice to see you here.
I'm also going to talk in here.
Perfect.
Oh, so you are
I'm
The mysterious.
yeah, I just want to check out how everything is
Das habe ich
going to
gespielt. Das ist ein ganz
Yeah,
komisches, weil es ist, ich würde sagen, ein Metroidvania, aber mit Aufbau. Deswegen kannst du ja immer alles mit einem kombinieren, so wie Dingsbums hier Out of the Land ist ja auch Roguelike kombiniert, auch wieder mit Aufbau und das ist halt das gleiche am Metroidvania mit Aufbau. Super weird, weil du hattest hier, also deine Zwerge hatten alle irgendwie ein Happiness-Level, du musstest aber immer wieder rausgehen, wie die Dungeons. Also du musstest immer weiter graben, es ist auch noch weit, das gleiche normaler im die da waren aber das ist fast apokalyptisch, weil da drin war dann irgendwas mit Burger Factory oder so. Also am Anfang fängt etwas rudimentär an und dann geht es immer einfach versteckt. Super viel.
Das nicht unbedingt hatte auch mit meinem Problem.
Ja.
Kennst du 400 Tage, wie heißt das?
The Long. Ja, ich hätte das auf der Switch mitbringen können. Das ist auch das langsamste Metroid.
Ja, genau, und da war ich Metroid
Total.
richtig komisch, weil du unlockst halt Dinge einfach durch Zeit.
Ja,
so, ne?
ja.
Das ist ja,
Ja.
Das ist
Ich habe den getroffen auf der Dingsbums. Der hat also genau, da wir haben es mit ASH Heidberg auf jeden Fall dann gedingst. Jetzt bringen die gerade ein Spiel raus, das heißt Lucky Tower. Das ist ein Spiel, das hatten die vorher schon in Entwicklung, aber das ist Lucky Tower und das ist in der Simpsons-Ästhetik, was auch irgendwie ganz, also so Simpsons Slapstick Tower Roaming irgendwie Dingsbums. Ja, und also auch ganz bescheuerte Dialoge. Also ich würde es als Fantasy-Humor bezeichnen.
Ich fand das Longing, das hat mir auch, es gibt auch einfach so viele Emotionen.
Oh, es ist mega. Es ist fucking mega. Ich habe den ein bisschen gefangirlt dann auf der Dingsbums. Hat ihn, glaube ich, gefreut. Aber der ist so ein sehr
Langsamer Typ.
Sehr stoisch einfach. Also sehr stoisch und so ein bisschen, also sehr introvertiert. Okay, yes. Yes.
I guess I'm approaching like the master thesis stuff, and you saw my series game. Remember the Spanish learning game?
Yes.
I think I want to do that for a master thesis.
Oh, okay.
So, or develop it or do something with it. So maybe we have a talk later at some point when you're free.
Yeah,
to see.
I mean, what we can do is basically you can book an appointment. Let's just book an appointment and set a date, and then I'll make a 1 hour time slot
Okay.
where we can talk about it in peace.
Perfect.
Yes, let's do that. That's really nice. Yesterday, I sent into the Serious Games channel the link for this guy because I find it very funny the way he explores.
Yeah, I found it also, and it's super funny. So I'll send you a message on this one to arrange the date.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Please do that. That would be perfect.
Okay, perfect. We can see each other.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
See you soon. Warum ist nichts bekannt über das Ding? Wer war der fucking Entwickler? Ich glaube nämlich, dass das ein deutsches Ding. CDV Software GmbH. Wikipedia.